Let's bring in Angus Taylor now ahead of the budget and reply speech tonight. Angus Taylor, thanks so much for your time. First of all, you've been saying that the coalition will be the party or is the party of lower taxes. When we hear this budget and reply speech tonight, can that still be true? Will you still be the party of lower income taxes?
Well, we are the party of lower taxes and bringing down the excise for hard-working families in southwestern Sydney and Dyer's electorate, in mine as well, but right across Australia, you've got hard-working families, often double-income families, travelling long distances to work, to drop off kids at school and sport and so on, who have huge fuel bills. They are struggling. This is the group that are struggling the most under mortgage stress, huge financial pressures, Laura, and frankly, they are the ones that should be targeted, and it should be immediate. It should be immediate. What Labor's talking about is 70 cents a day starting in 15 months' time, which is permanent, which says they've already accepted that there will be a permanent cost of living crisis under Labor. Well, we take a different approach. We've also, of course, as you know, announced important changes to the instant asset write-off for small business, making it permanent, raising the threshold. Labor's dead against this. They don't even want to put the legislation through for this year, let alone make it permanent, Laura. And small business is absolutely central to getting our economy going again, an economy that's currently broken, not working for Middle Australia.
It is an important mantle to hold, though. Are you still the party of lower income taxes?
We are the party of lower, simpler, fairer taxes. And,
I'm talking about
you have
income.
seen well, let's talk about income taxes. Stage 1, Stage 2 and Stage 3 ultimately changed and butchered by Labor. They've spent all the money. There's deficits as far as the eye can see, $170 billion of deficits, $6,000 on the credit card for every Australian, Laura. The fact of the matter is Labor has trashed the budget. So everything has to be done with a view to responsibility, with making sure that it's temporary, it's targeted, and that's exactly what we're doing with what we've announced today, targeted at those under the most stress in our suburbs and regions, travelling long distances. Right. The pain in those areas is extreme. I see it every day, and Labor has absolutely lost sight of that. And they've lost sight of the need to make sure that there's a longer-term plan in place for affordable, reliable energy, for bringing down and making sure they've beaten inflation permanently, for boosting growth, for backing small business, for fixing their housing supply. Sure. And then this kind of relief is not necessary over the longer term.
Will you repeal these tax cuts that have now passed the Parliament from Labor?
Yes, we will. I mean, this is the wrong initiative right now. We need something that's immediate. We need something that's targeted to those groups I just talked about. Yep. We need to make sure it's responsible, and this is what we're talking about here is far more responsible than what Labor is doing. And we need to make sure, as I say, it's temporary because there will not be a permanent cost of living crisis under a Dutton-led Liberal National government. And I think that's an incredibly important point. I should say, by the way, that, Laura, Jim Chalmers himself supported this kind of relief and said it was good policy back in March 2022 on Channel 10. And Jim Chalmers running around today in a complete flap because he realises he hasn't had the right targeted temporary relief, which is immediate. But he thought it was good policy back then.
It's going to be really hard for you during the election campaign if you can't say that you are the party of lower income taxes. So through the course of the next 5 weeks and from tonight, are you going to be able to say that you will have lower income taxes under a coalition government? I know the entire tax take, but I just want to focus on income taxes. Will you have lower income taxes?
Laura, we have been and we always will be. We've set a tax to GDP cap, which Labor has thrown away. But you've got to be responsible. When you've got $170 billion of deficit, there's red ink as far as the eye can see, Laura. This Treasurer is absolutely hopeless. He's economically irresponsible. He's driven the budget off a cliff. He's put $6,000 on the credit card of every single Australian. $400 billion of extra spending, all the windfalls, which is about $400 billion in extra personal income tax being paid by Australians, extra company tax being paid by Australians, all gone. And let's be clear, personal income taxes in aggregate are going to continue to go up under this Labor government.
Okay.
Nothing they are doing is going to change that. Well, that is how Labor governs.
All right, I'm just trying to get a handle on what you're trying to do here, because you're talking about temporary tax relief here in a cost of living crisis. That's all well and good, but we're not talking about a deflationary environment for quite some time.
Right.
So, you know, when you have inflation, that's a new price set. It doesn't go down. So what about bracket creep?
Make a very good...
I mean, when you talk about income tax and structural reform, how brave are you going to be here?
Well, very brave. We'll beat inflation. I mean, that is what economic responsibility does. That's what good economic management does, and that's absolutely what Labor has failed to do, because we've seen inflation in this country stay higher for longer under a Labor government, which is why we have seen the biggest hit to our standard of living in our history. Now, beating inflation is the key to beating bracket creep. This is lost on many, Laura, but bracket creep is caused by inflation. So go to the root cause, because if you beat inflation, you don't just beat bracket creep, you beat price rises, you drive interest rates down, and you improve Australian standard of living. So the first port of call has got to be good economic management.
Yeah.
That's what we stand for as the Liberal Party, and that is where Jim Chalmers and the Labor Party have absolutely failed, because they're weak, and the weakness of this party shows in a budget that has been driven off a cliff, with reading as far as the eye can see, despite massive windfalls in company taxes, primarily from high commodity prices and personal income taxes, because Labor is raiding household budgets in order to bolster its budget.
What about the stage 3 tax cuts? They were redesigned by Labor, but what about the premise behind that? Because people often forget that stage 3 tax cuts, well, before that, there was stage 1 and 2 that looked after the lower end. When they were repealed by Labor and redesigned and given to the lower end, your party said at the time that you're going to reinstate them, that, you know, you still believed in what you were trying to do. It doesn't sound like you still believe in that today. Is that fair?
Well, 100% do, Laura. You've just got to be economically responsible about how you do it. Labor has blown the budget. Like, I can't emphasise this enough.
That sounds like an admission to me that if you don't want to reinstate those stage 3 tax cuts, now's not the right time to do it, because you can't afford to do it, and the economy's not ready for it.
But Laura, didn't you notice the red ink in the budget?
I did.
Did you notice how much red ink? Can I take you through this again? Because it's incredibly important. There is red ink as far as the eye can see. Labor has completely blown the budget. It's not on making the country safer through better defence spending. It's not on making sure that, you know, we're set up for the future. They've blown the budget on what is essentially trying to bribe the Australian people.
Aren't you doing the same with this fuel excise cut, though, and pumping $6 billion into the economy? Isn't that inflationary?
6 billion versus 17 billion. I mean, I think the numbers there are pretty clear, Laura. And let's be clear here. Labor's blown the budget. They're wrecking the economy. Our standard of living has been in free fall. It's fallen faster than ever in our history. It's fallen more than any other peer country in the world. They have wrecked the economy for hardworking Australians. So we deal with the hand we have here. And it is a bad hand, let me tell you. But we have a plan to get ourselves back on track, delivering affordable, reliable energy, getting the economy growing again, the fiscal rules that we desperately need to make sure we grow the economy faster than our spending. Then we're in a position to make sure that we've got room for all of those things we want, which includes lower personal income taxes, as we have always driven towards in government. So, Laura, the problem here is the starting point, which is a diabolical economic situation created by a Labor government that has trashed our economy. We cannot afford another 3 years of that, and there is a better way.
Well, you talk a lot about structural reform, but are you willing to be brave? Are we going to see that tonight? Are we going to see that throughout the election campaign? Because we haven't seen an opposition be brave for quite some time when it comes to structural reform. Are we going to see that from you?
That's absolute nonsense, Laura. That's absolute nonsense. And let me tell you why.
When's the last bit of structural reform your side of politics had a crack at?
With all due respect, we have opened up the nuclear debate, which for decades governments haven't been able to navigate their way through.
Okay.
For instance, and we have said we will build 7 nuclear generators, 2 gigawatt generators, around Australia to make sure we've got zero emission baseload power, so we've got the industry, we can transform our energy system and make sure it works. That is, by any measure, that is what you might call brave policy, but it's the right policy for Australians.
Okay.
We've been
I'm not sure
strong.
whether that's structural budget reform, but in the interests of being responsible and managing the budget responsibly, are we going to learn tonight how much this nuclear plan is?
Well, we've been clear about that all along. We'll build 7 generators and they'll cost close to $20 billion each in the 2030s. There's no ambiguity about that, Laura. But let me keep going on the strong positions we've taken. We've opposed over $100 billion of bad Labor spending. I mean, they want to build tens of thousands of kilometres of power lines to nowhere because they've got this renewables-only strategy. I mean,
why did you match the energy rebate if you're going to be able to bring it down?
Well, hang on, Laura. You asked me about taking strong positions, and I'll talk about those. We've opposed Labor's housing policies. Housing policies which have delivered no houses. Indeed, Labor's absolutely given up the ghost on its housing targets. We've opposed Labor's bad manufacturing policies because they're not delivering manufacturing. Manufacturing is going backwards in this country because the cost of energy, getting approvals, red tape is making it impossible to succeed in manufacturing in this country. And the first project they support with these manufacturing programs is a quantum company out of the west coast of the US. So we've taken strong positions. We'll keep taking strong positions. We must, and you are right to say we should. And that's what we have done as an opposition. We haven't been a timid opposition at all, and we won't be as we get up to the election.
All right, well, just finally, we are very interested in what's going on with energy prices. I did put to Jim Chalmers, it was a bit of a fur for him to say that electricity prices have come down 25%. He pointed out they were ABS figures, so I should quibble with them, and I will do. But in the end, the reality is that people are paying for more. Even with these rebates, which you have backed, it's just another form. It's still our money, taxpayer money, paying for higher electricity. The system is a mess, to be frank. The nuclear policy, great, might work, but that's in the medium to long term. What are you going to do in the short term to get more gas into the system and bring electricity prices down? Can you say here this morning that you can actually do that?
I know you want us to announce all our policies now, but we still don't even know when the election's going to be, Laura. But I mean, I do take your point. You're absolutely right that Labor has wrecked the energy system. There's no question about that. And they promised a $275 reduction in my electorate and across Western Sydney. They're paying $1,300 more a year than was promised to them, and this has been an absolute disaster. And I've already talked about our longer-term plan to get that baseload power into the system. In the shorter term, I've been very clear, and Ted and Peter have been very clear that the key is to make sure we broaden out the fuel sources beyond just a renewables-only strategy, and that means making the most of the incredible gas resources we have in this country, making Australian gas work for Australians, making sure we get gas out from under the ground, not blocking the approvals that we've seen Tanya Plibersek do, and she is clearly not someone who likes the natural gas industry in this country, but it has a hugely important role to play, not just for exports, but also to make sure we've got an affordable energy system in this country in the short to medium term as we move towards nuclear-generated baseload power.
It doesn't sound like you're willing to make that short-term promise of bringing power prices down unless you have something big coming on gas.
I can assure you power prices will be lower under a Dutton Liberal government than under a Labor government. That I can assure you. We'll have more to say about the short to medium term over the coming weeks. We've already laid out a 44% reduction through to 2050, and we've been unambiguous about that. And again, you were all screaming. You wanted the economic details. We gave them to you, and it's clear, 44% reduction. And we'll continue to roll out our policy, and it will be about delivering affordable, reliable energy, fixing our housing supply, backing small business, beating inflation, boosting growth. These are the fundamentals that will strengthen our economy, strengthen our country, and put us in the position we need to come back from the disaster that has been 3 years of bad Labor government.
I'm looking forward to the details. Angus Taylor, great to have you back on the show. We'll see you soon.